All right, everybody, welcome. Today is April 13th. It's 10 a.m. and we are doing our deep dive into the processes of the city of Ventura so that we can uncover where there are technology gaps that need to be filled in both the immediate and the long term. We've got a lot of people in the room. Our work today is going to be replicating the effort that we made last week with community development and fire. I hope everybody had a chance to look at the two videos that I sent. The first video was a relatively short one that explained the document that we're going to be looking at in just a minute. So I'll give a quick primer on that real quick, very quick, just to make sure for anybody that missed that. And then the second video showed the process. It was a very long video that showed the process that we did with community development on Friday to uncover their process and technology needs. Remember, the goal of this is to help us to become a paperless city so that we are able to do our critical and essential business functions without the need of standing over a counter and having people exchanging documents back and forth. With that preamble, let me do a quick examination of the document that we're going to be looking at. Here we go. So this is a spreadsheet called Paperless City Process. The sheet that you're looking at right now, this is the end result, okay? What you're looking at over here, let me turn on my little drawing tool, sorry, not that one, the spotlight. What you're looking at right here, when we're done, will be for lack of a better term, a shopping list of what we need for IT to get us paperless. In the immediate need count column shows us what we need right away versus the optimal need. It's really nice if we see similarity between the two. That means we're covering the long-term need in the immediate with the immediate purchases. So we've already got, for example, for VPN, we know from our interviews with fire and community development that we need 16 VPN seats in order for the team to function successfully in a paperless environment. Skipping 2 down to 32-inch monitors, we need 32-inch monitors. That's 2 monitors per person. That's based on the number of human beings from each of those respective departments that will need those monitors. So with that, that's what we're headed towards. Let me go ahead and turn that off. I want to show you really quickly the Community Development tab. You'll notice that down here at the bottom, there's a tab for Community Development, Fire, Public Works, Ventura Water, Parks and Rec, Police, Finance and Technology. I've reached out to all of these groups and have asked them to send subject matter experts to join our team. We've already completed Community Development and Fire. Let's examine the Community Development tab. What you're seeing right now, hopefully, I'm going to be very quick because hopefully everybody's seen the video that I sent that Merritt and I made yesterday. Very quickly, this document identifies a single generic kind of a representative process that community development has, and then explores their steps, sub-steps, and any technology that's needed for these. Over here on the right, let me bring up my little drawing tool again. Over here on the right, you'll see that there's a process called the photovoltaic permit. All right, that process has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps and a number of sub-steps. Over here on the left, the far left, is the type of technology that's needed to address those particular needs. So the step, the technology that's needed for it. Now we have 2 needs. We have immediate and long-term. I'm calling that optimal. The immediate need options, this is where we list out all the possible options to meet that need. And if that need is currently being met, we put a parentheses around it. Now you can see, and it's green, you can see that for community development, for this photovoltaic permit, they're on the ball. Look at this. Every step is green with a parentheses around an item. That means they are nearly 100% paperless. And by the way, if you're not speaking, if you could please mute your mic, that would be appreciated. Thank you. This is a big win. Community development is way ahead of the curve. Look at that, they've nearly got it. There's just one item here, and I called this out with a line right here. That's this hand delivery upon first inspection. I'm not sure how we're going to get over that, but that's the one piece that still requires a human-to-human interface. The immediate need, this means that of the options explored here, which of those are we going to select? Over here under optimal technology options, that says that what would be the perfect solution given that if we didn't have COVID-19 and we had time to think it all through, what would be the best option, and then what will meet that option. There's a glossary down here that explains things, like if you don't know what CSS is, you can come down here and you can find CSS is Customer Self-Service Portal. By the way, we do have Anthony Myers from Tyler Technologies here with us. I'm not sure if the other Tyler Tech folks are on the line or not, but Anthony is helping us out with our gap analysis as well. So he can tell us more about things like Customer Self-Service Portal. Finally, down here on the right, there are two lists. The first list are the immediate tech needs. This is the quantity from the identified technology that's needed in the short term that we'll need to purchase. The numbers that we put in here on the count column feed into that other spreadsheet and populate that sheet, and then we create a total for all the departments. Down here, we have the count for the optimal IT needs. Anything that's in yellow is showing us a beautiful overlap. That means that if we buy it in the present, that means it's going to be what we need in the long term as well. That was the end of my presentation. Does anybody have any questions before we dive in with our next group? No?
I have a question, Kurt. This is Lisa.
Yes, Lisa.
Hi.
Hi.
So you said community development. Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, so community development on the needs side to the right, the bottom right.
Yes.
You know, you have the count. Are those also going to be subdivided by division?
Yes. So back over here, under the IT needs, you can see over here this line up here. This corresponds to that green section. Each division, each department. It's not by division. It's by department. So each department's needs for each one is listed here. So community development needs 9 VPNs. Fire needs 7. Does that answer your question?
Well, I'm just wondering, who did you meet with community development to develop the needs? I'm not sure who filled this out.
That was Ian Livingston and his team.
Yeah, hey Kurt, it's Veronica. I think we're planning is part of community development. I think that's what Lisa's going to get at.
Mm-hmm.
So we would need we're following a very similar process right now because we use that same email for submittals and all. But as far as the count, there would be more if you're doing a tally. Yeah.
This is exactly the type of group oversight that we need, and I'm so glad that there's so many people in the room. Can we knock this out right now? For example, from your group, from community development, how many human beings would require a VPN access to gain access to EnerGov desktop? Ian represented 9. That's what Ian told us was 9.
Right, that's just for building and safety though. So for planning, I would say there's 14.
14 just with planning?
Yes, that's all the planners. And I included Netta and Peter. Actually, there's 13 right now because we still have a vacancy, so it would be 13.
Okay, let's just make all.
And some of us already have it, so.
Ian reports. Okay, let's go ahead and make a note over here. So Ian reported 9. I just want to keep a shorthand of this. And who's speaking right now, by the way?
This is Veronica.
Hi, Veronica. So I don't recognize
So
your
community
voice.
development, yeah, both planning and building and safety are part of community development.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he was just speaking for building and safety and not planning.
I think so. So we need another 14. 14 just for. I'm just putting the name so I can know who was telling me the information if I have to backtrack. So does that
Sure.
tell me we need 23 and 23 VPNs? And is that comprehensive of all of community development then?
That's just the planning section. There's also code enforcement. And I can get back to you on the numbers, but.
Thank you. If you could, that would be great. So that takes us up to 23 then, right? At this point for VPN, right. For both. And that's going to be 20, that's 46 monitor. All these people will be working from home. Will they all need the high resolution monitors?
I would say the planners, yes.
Okay, so keep in mind, so the distinction, the people that need the high resolution monitors are the folks that are going to be using the Bluebeam or the Adobe Pro to actually look at the blueprints up close. Can you give me an idea? Ian told us that there were about 9 people that would need that. From your group, how many would need that?
Well, all of the planners in reviewing new projects as well.
Okay, so that would be 46 then. Okay, now everybody, so these numbers are pushing through to the other side. Great, and let's record an action item here. So AI, so this was to uncover, what was it, the code enforcement, right? Code enforcement representation. And Sergio might be here. Was Sergio part of that group? No. Is he
no, he's traffic.
Who's our best representative to get that number to us?
So,
But I am here, by the way.
Yes?
They use it, code enforcement uses it strictly for searching. They don't go in and update anything, or so they just use Energov for searching right now.
Okay, so if
and
they
maybe
need
some entries as far as some code cases.
That's great. That tells us they need the VPN, but they don't need the monitors. Access Energov DS desktop and use the and review documents. So good. So
I'm sorry, Kurt, let me add on to that. They may need the monitors because they do some reviews on code enforcement cases.
All right.
But I don't, so I don't know exactly.
So who can I assign this action item to? And it doesn't have to be someone in the room. I can reach out to the person after this meeting. Who is the best person to tell me this information?
Kurt, this is Ian. Peter and Netta have actually created a spreadsheet of IT needs within Teams.
Mm-hmm.
I can ask one of them to forward that over. But I'm looking at it now. It's got almost every user with a need for 1, if not 2 monitors.
Okay, we'll locate. So you will locate. I'm going to assign this to you, Ian, right? Will you locate and send that information to me?
Yes.
But I had a chance. This is Louis. I had a chance to talk to Peter on Thursday evening. I reviewed the list, and Peter is going to update the Excel sheet of required monitors. He requested 32-inch monitors and 27-inch monitors and other items. He's going to update and send it to us.
Okay. So Peter will do that. Well, also what we're trying to find out, Louis, is if we need code enforcement folks in here to represent the team to make sure we're not missing any gaps. So Peter's going to send us the list, the technology needs, right? Also, let's just add that on. Let's get both. Let's get the list from Ian and the list. Is it the same list?
I think it's the same list they're talking about. Yeah. So Peter said, based on the current situation and the condition, he's going to revise it after my discussion with him, and he's going to update and send it back to us.
Okay.
Through the logistics.
This to IT. Ian, could you get together with Peter and just help him facilitate that along to make sure, because the sooner we get that, the better.
Yes, we provided the information for him to populate his spreadsheet. He would have code enforcement, building and safety, and planning included, as well as the grants and housing group. So okay. I'll touch base with him today and ask if he can't send that over.
Right, so I need just one name that I can follow up on to make sure we get this done, and I'll make that name you, if you don't mind, Ian. Thank you. Good. There's our first action item. So let's leave this one aside for just a minute because this information is going to be updated. And really, the community development tab, I just want to use this as a sample before we jump into public works. But back on this point, this is why it's so good to have so many people in the room to spot the holes in what we've got. Let's move over now to the Public Works tab. Fire has completed their tab already. And we pretty much had the whole fire team involved in that. So the first thing we need to do is, hopefully that's big enough for everybody to see. Let me change the size so it's a little easier to see, although I'll have to scroll the screen around a little bit. Let's think about our process for Public Works. And for Public Works, we have in the room today, unless more have arrived, Mark Wild, Chandra Shaker is here, Chuck Thrall. I think that's it. Gentlemen.
We have Peter as well. Kurt, Peter Schellenberger.
Oh, okay. I'm
appears
sorry.
to be.
Yeah,
and
Peter's
we
here.
also have Sergio. Sergio appears to be on as well with transportation.
Very good. Very good. Okay, Peter. Very good. So I've got Peter. That's great. We've got good representation here. So guys, what we've done here is I just copied over the process from community development, which is photovoltaic permit. So let me remove that. While I type backspace, can you think among yourselves, what's a good sample department process that's representative of what you do, that's likely to capture all of our steps in technology needs? Is there such a thing?
Well, I think we were using the grading and improvement plan case in the InterGov example. That might be a fine example to use here.
Great. Okay, so we have our process. What I'm going to do is I'm going to begin walking through the steps. Let's not worry about the technology yet. Let's just walk through these steps and see how they need to change. By the way, if it's green, this green highlight right here, that means it's on the critical path. That means that was an item that was similar across both community development and fire. If it's not similar for public works, then we're going to change it. Let's go. The first item, step 1, customer contacts city and submits application and plans. Is that the same?
Yeah, I think that's a good start.
All right. The first sub-step of that is to check our city website and find an email to send to. Is that how it's being?
Yeah, that's working well, I think. Sure.
Okay, good. The next step is contacts development services who walks them through a process. Process is the cut sheets, which are the applications, ensures plan completeness, and customer submits plans and filled out PDF forms. Is that process the same?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it. Cut sheets was kind of an unfamiliar term for the grading and improvement plans, so we might want to clarify that.
All right, we can I'm your scribe. Tell me what you want me to say.
Well, if I can interject, I think we want to keep this generic to everybody though, right?
No, this one is particular to Public Works.
Okay, all right.
We're on the Public Works tab. And let me just pause for just a moment on that, on the importance of that. It's generic from the perspective of the technology, but it's specific from the perspective of the department. This list here will then be used for two things. It will tell us what technology we need, but then it will also be turned around and used by the departments to train their teams. So it's good if the language for each department is familiar to that department's members.
When you
so
say
with that, Kurt, we might want to indicate that the first step is the application for a permit, because I think that gives us the contact's name, their phone number, their email. It explains what it is they're looking for. So I think it's always a great start, I think, to start with the application. It's our basic contact information.
So I'm literally your scribe. Tell me what you want to change, or if you want to add or remove anything.
I think the word application works well, so the deletion of cut sheets and the parentheses around the application.
All right. So so just call this application, right?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. And by the way, everybody, this is a group editable document. If you want to, you can see that there's a couple of people in there right next to me in this thing. If you want to hop in and make the changes yourself, you're welcome to do so. This document is pinned to the top of our teams list. Okay, next, how about item Roman numeral 2?
this is Peter real quick.
Hi, Peter.
You there?
Yes.
When you say checks website, finds emails, do we want to talk about what is a complete application, such as checklists and whatnot? Is that what would be included in step one?
I'm going to leave it up to our subject matter experts to tell me.
So Peter, I
Chandra,
agree that we could probably expand and clarify item A, if that's our goal. How far do we want to go deep into this? Kurt, you might give us a little guidance on how much detail and how much time we have in order to do that.
Sure. We have 2 hours dedicated to public works and Ventura Water, and we can. I'm glad to meet with people in the afternoon if we need to. What we don't want to our mission is to uncover each and every step that requires technology. We will fail if we make an IT buy list and we've missed something critical. So anything that you can add that will help us to see what we need.
So the way you wrote up A, I like the way you wrote up A at first, because it says checks the website and find an email, which is an effort to contact somebody at the city. In this case, it looks like Development Services is our unified contact. I think that's a great start. And then at that point, you get into the detail, which is the application, the package completeness. So the edit I would make there is ensure package completeness. We're not necessarily making sure that the plans are complete, but we're trying to make sure that the package is complete, that we've got a set of civil plans, that we've got a geotechnical report, we've got hydrology, etc. So to kind of address maybe Peter's question, I think item A, which is just check our website and figure out who to talk to, that's a great step one. Step two, I think you're doing a great job there, and just ensure package completeness. I would change plan to package, submittal package completeness.
So Louis is already editing that cell. Louis, do you want to edit that cell, or am I going to clobber you if I hop in there with that cell with you? Yeah, let me try it. See what happens if we're both.
I'm not doing anything. I just logged in and look at the sheet because it's hard to see in here. That's all. I'm not touching anything. You can have
it just shows that you're in that cell. So I wasn't sure if I would clobber anything. So yep, it changed. Okay, wow. Ensures package completeness.
Submittal package completeness. We might want to use the word submittal. Submittal package.
How's that?
Because yeah, good.
All right. And how about that last sub-step?
I think it's good.
Very good. All right. So step one is complete. How about step two? Process, permit, and plan.
I'm reading 2A. I think that's a good start. There's probably detail on how the customer submits the plan. So I'm sorry, Peter, Kurt, back on to customer submits plan. We might want to explain how that's done, or perhaps that's too much detail for this list, and we could say see detailed somewhere else on how they submit, because I think that's part of our major technological challenge currently.
We can
is how they submit a plan.
We can add a comment to this if you like. Would that help? You know, just call out some information.
How do they submit?
So that's going to show up over here. In this case, with community development, it was email attachment is what they're doing. Email with an attachment. That's what they're doing now.
Okay, so in our write-up for our steps that we are using is that the customer would receive a link to upload to the city FTP site.
Okay. So
do we want to edit that on the far left, or do you want to leave it for now?
Yeah, we can add it. We can add as much. It's okay if it goes out of the color there. So do you want to put in like a parenthesis? Are you actually logged in, Mark?
Logged into the sheet?
Yes.
I have it open on another tab.
If you want to pop into this thing and go ahead and add the language, it might be easier than having me transcribe from you.
Okay.
We'll make Bill Gates happy. This collaborative editing.
Wow. This is definitely high tech.
You want to stay in that first cell. This one right here. Yeah. There you go. And then just go up here to the top. Go up here, and then type in the new words right here.
It shows up on my screen, Kurt. You probably don't see what I'm actually typing yet until maybe I hit return.
I can see three little epsilon dots going. There we go.
There it is. How's that look?
That looks good. Now, also, I want to open that to anybody else. Does that make sense to others who are involved with public works? If so, then we'll move forward. Are we good then on step one?
Is that common to everybody?
Good question, Chandra. Any comments?
Is that common to everybody, the FTP link?
This is Peter. I don't use the FTP. I usually just pull it off of our server, but
I know, but you're not taking applications, so.
nope, exactly.
So I'm going to go over here and change this from email and attachment to FTP, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Great. And would you be interested in using Dropbox if that was an option?
We're kind
You
of
don't need Dropbox.
discouraging the Dropbox process because it does require a city employee to create an account.
Okay.
And we haven't found that to be overly useful. WeTransfer is probably a one that allows you to drop down the data without having to log in and create an account.
Very good. Are we good on step one then? Can we move on to step two? Very good.
Yeah.
Step two. And I'm going to go ahead and just read through this, and I'll stop at the end of every item, and anybody can jump in. Step two, process, permit, and plan. 2A, open plan and create permit. 2B, assign plan case number, electronic stamp.
So there's detail there, Kurt. I would say the first thing we do is we download from the FTP site into a file structure currently, and that file structure is currently on the engineering drive. As part of the broad distribution for the city, though, the P drive seems to be more broadly available. So what we would probably do, I think that a more detailed description would be to download FTP site documents and create file structure in the engineering drive and the P drive.
So
it depends on how you want to distribute plans. I think what I'm hearing is some of us might be using the Microsoft Team or SharePoint process. So I think by using it in the engineering drive, we can still use SharePoint and make them available. So that might be a good solution that I'm hearing is common for the city.
I've added a new line here. You want to type in the that process right there? Okay. And I'll adjust our numbering accordingly.
Okay.
Great. Is that clear to everybody? And just so everybody knows, this is exactly what this meeting is for. This is precisely what we need to be doing. I'm so grateful for the input everybody's offering.
However it's done, for any department that plans are being routed to, we just need to know how it's being done. So if it's something if it's a grading plan that's being routed to fire, or that normally would be, then we just need to know how to access it.
All right. Is that something we need to make a note of in parentheses or something?
Just at some point in this process, seeing where that will be.
So that would come back over to on your fire tab. We have two items there that are unique to you, which is routing to fire. So maybe we should make a note there, must be accessible, right?
Yeah, as long as we know how that is and we can get to it.
Right. Great. Mark, are you done editing?
Yeah, I'm on D. I'm on 2D.
All right. Well, all right.
So I think our strategy here, where it says assign a plan checker, I think our goal with this new process is to distribute it to everybody who might want it. And so help me a little bit with your expectation for the spreadsheet. Are we using D as kind of a generic assigned to plan checker and maybe parenthetically S so that we know that we've got multiple checkers?
Well,
We've got usually somebody from planning, somebody from building and safety. We obviously have our own. We've got environmental services. We usually have parks involved. So we've got a multitude of plan checkers that look at the plans, which I think is common with building and safety as well.
Well, from a generic perspective, we want to simply, as you know, assign it to who the person that needs to do the work. And in EnerGov Enterprise, Andrew will keep me honest, I believe that can easily be done just through a drop down and picking names. As for now, I think we can also do that in desktop. That's what community development is doing, as you can see highlighted here, and then emailing those people. So really,
I might
go ahead.
I might put an S after the R of checkers, so it assigned to plan checkers, so that we establish routing and determine plan checkers for each department.
Very good.
Or division.
While you do that, I'm going to try something risky. I'm going to pop over to the fire tab, and Joe, lest we forget, over here for the building routes to fire, should we put a little note in here? Fire note. Fire needs to be able to access the Dropbox repository. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, we just need to know where the plan is for review.
Needs to know.
Which I think we're getting to on D or E. In between D and E, 2D and 2E. 2D is assigned plan checkers, and then I think there needs to be a new step after D. Before the plan checker opens the case, they have to receive it. So I would create a new E below D that says, below D.
Sorry.
Yeah.
There we go.
Once they've been assigned, they have to be distributed. So we would distribute. We change the lettering.
Sure. You go ahead and tackle the language. I'll tackle the lettering, the subsequent lettering.
Okay. So we'll call it D.
Yeah. This is multitasking.
Distribute. Plan. Distribute what? A link. Link for.
I guess if it's
reviews to all in D. And then I'd probably put a plan checkers.
There you go.
Open plans.
I'll take on H.
And perform plan reviews.
And I'll add an S to G. Enters plan review corrections. Plan checkers approve. And get my grammar right here. There we go.
On G, it says enters plan review comments.
Mm-hmm.
If I could, I'll make it maybe the word comments.
Yes, yes.
And then it enters. I think that's using the concept that we type into EnerGov, perhaps, but I think our goal is to do plan review comments on the plans. I think we're still not clear what package we're assembling. I know we all had this conversation on Friday briefly, or Thursday or Friday briefly, about our business practice and what we owe back. I think our goal is to present back to the applicant a combined Bluebeam package of red lines and written comments. Is that, and with that, I would say we enter our plan review comments in Bluebeam, not in InterGov.
Yes.
In Bluebeam.
Mark, what's the plan today? Like, if you're routing a plan to fire today or to any other department, what's happening today, just so we're aware?
Well, we have electronic plans that are coming in, and we're able to put those on the P drive for you to go in and review. And we've encouraged in the past, as we are now, that the comments come back in the form of a Word document, so that we're able to then, yeah, on the P drive or as an email, so that we're able to take those comments and get them back. And that's currently, you know, the process has been via email. We're also comfortable with you putting them in the P drive. And I think that's part of our goal right now, is to come up with a common approach. So we're certainly here with 2 ears listening to some preferred approaches as well.
All right. So just to keep everybody abreast of time, we're at 10:37, and I'm hoping to use the second hour for Ventura Water, but I don't want to rush anybody if we want a deep dive. But we can always, if we don't finish this sheet, then maybe with Public Works we can have a second session in the afternoon. But I do want to switch over to Ventura Water at the top of the hour.
Yeah, sure. No, I don't by any means mean to dominate the detailed process and discussions. But when the time is right, let me know.
No, Mark, this is perfect. It just tells me that we need more time than I've allotted for this. But I don't want to dissuade you from what we're doing. This is perfect.
Okay.
So
hey, Kurt, this
yes?
is Adam
Yes.
from Ventura Water. We just kind of found out about this morning, so we're not super prepared. So if you wanted to continue with land development and we could do a little bit more homework, and that way the Ventura Water section will be more productive.
Very good.
I'm okay with that.
Very good. Thank you. That's wonderful. Maybe we can schedule a breakout session this afternoon or tomorrow.
You know, Kurt, what I would say is you might want to include us, as I'm sure as Adam thinks through the Ventura Water process, we also have to talk through a little bit how that works with Public Works, or whether that's going to be a communication that happens directly with Development Services. I think we need to know short-term and long-term where we're going with that communication process.
Very good.
Yeah, we don't want to drop the ball on that one.
Thank you. That's great. That's the kind of collaboration we need. Are we good then with step 2, or do we need to adjust the language further?
Yeah, I think after G, once the comments are done, we need to. I think H is an outcome generally after 3 reviews. At least in Public Works, we generally have an expectation to do what we call a 50%, a 75%, and 100% review of plans. And so we go through a little bit of a iterative process there, and then finally approve the plan. I don't know how you want to capture that. I think Building and Safety generally expects to do 2 reviews. So in either case, I think we have a little bit of a loop system there in all of our process.
All right.
And I don't really know how to clarify that on the spreadsheet, but it would be worthwhile for the group probably, because we all have a similar process where we generally do at least 1, if not 2 more reviews before it's approved.
Just going to throw this out so you all know, this tab on this spreadsheet belongs to Public Works. Come back here anytime you want and make any appropriate adjustments. But if you change it and you add new technology, let me know, all right?
Okay.
Should we move on to step 3 now? Simple one, notify the applicant. It shouldn't be Building and Safety. It should be Public Works. Public Works notifies customer of approval or denial. Is that the same with you?
Yeah, I might use the word approval or comments. So we've either approved the plan or we've commented on the process, and that might suggest that there's a loop that needs to take place.
Interesting. Yes, I like the way you said that. It suggests the loop. Yes. possible loop in dialogue, right?
Yeah, an almost certain loop.
Yeah. Oh, certainly, because they're not.
That's
just
not a
being
bad
stuck
thing.
in that
That's
way.
generally a good thing, I think. One or at least one or two.
So this is, yeah, I get it. I get it. This is the back and forth. Great. And we'll get to the technology in just a second. How about step 4, permit issuance if approved? Applicant pays.
Okay, so Kurt, sorry, back on opens documents on 2C.
Yes.
There's a step in there where we need to receive payment for plan check. And I think building and safety has a similar process where once the intergov case is created, a payment needs to be made for the plan check process.
All right. So we need a new
to maybe a new yeah, before it gets assigned a plan checker. So a new 2D, there's a new item between C and D, which is so we have to define the payment process. Currently, the numbers for a significant plan check, like a grading improvement, are far in excess of our current credit card transaction limit. And so I've been using the wire transfer process through finance. Jennifer Rowe's been doing an awesome job receiving, payments in the $20, $30, $40, $50,000 range.
All right. I'll leave it to you to fill in the blank for that new space, please. I adjusted those.
So did you give me a new space, a new D? Or should I just delete what's where? Okay, so I'll go right here. I'll make that a D and say send applicant wire instructions and for payment of and check fee. How's that?
Send applicant wire instructions for payment of plan check fee. Does that make sense to everybody? Yes, that's good news. Are we ready now to move on to step 4? Permit issuance. I'll go ahead and read. Step A, 4A, applicant pays for permit. B, verification of contractor's license and Ventura business license. C, permit is issued. D, document is digitally signed. And double D, E, approved plan returned to applicant. Any changes there?
So on the permit, applicant pays for fee. Before they pay for the permit, they would need to reproduce. We'd have to reproduce that D, send applicant wire instructions for payment of permit fee.
Oh, so we need a new A?
I think a new A where it just says applicant, we need to send them. So staff sends, maybe that's the term. You want to say staff sends? Yeah, I'll add it right there.
I'll do my lettering.
And it's a new A. Staff sends wire instructions.
Well, you do that. I'll go. I've got a program number on community development tab.
Permit and permits.
Change that to an F.
And I'm just going to put it in here. Impact fees.
Okay.
Might be related to what wasn't collected on the building and safety case.
I'll change the color.
Mark, is this happening right now? Is this process established in Public Works? Right, like in the last?
Yes, we've been doing that for about a year now, Joe, where we use wire instructions for large payments of fees and working with Jennifer. We've obviously stepped that up in the last couple of weeks, but I've done a couple of those transactions with Jennifer lately and coordinated those.
Okay, and as far as putting the plan in the P drive, are there some in there right now? Like for instance, that are ready for review from other departments?
No, we have one that's come in and So we don't have a large volume of the grading and improvement plans, but we can put that in the P drive, and we could talk a little bit more about exactly what we're doing day to day for you, Joe.
All right.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, we just need to know where it is, and we'll get in there and take a look at whatever we need to.
Okay.
Step 5, customer makes plan available for inspection. Is that the same?
So let's see, applicant pays for permit, and then there's a series of documents that we generally orchestrate with that as well, which is the insurance package. And I know it says verify contractor's license and business license, but what we generally receive for the grading and improvement plans are significant bond amounts and bond documents. And we could capture that as just a plan check document. Maybe we can, that keeps it a little simpler, but that's generally done at the time of permit issuance.
How should we, do we need another line after C? Or
yeah, I think it's worthy of a bullet point because it's not just a random technical document. It's a significant financial document that's related to payment.
Have at it.
So why don't we just edit B to say applicant pays for permits, because generally it's 2 permits, and provides bonding.
All right, and we don't need that new line I created.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, that's all right.
So, you know, Kurt, I did like a 2-page write-up and provided that to you last week. So I'm trying to use that and put it in your format. One of the steps that I think is vital in this electronic process and in the modern process as well as the old is to meet with the applicant for that design phase. And I don't think we included that. We have done in the past. We condition projects now, and I think we should continue to do so, where on the applicant checks is that we have a web meeting to discuss the submittal and a web meeting to discuss any comments that we have. So
I love it.
I'm sorry if I'm backing up on you, but
no, this is perfect. That is great.
Probably on 3A, where it's for approval or comments, we might want to put a B under 3B, make a 3B. And on 3B, it show here that we want to staff creates, maybe it's the word, creates a teleconference.
All right. I created a new line for you. You can go ahead and add that in.
I am.
It's not that I'm adverse to writing. I'm sure that you'll write it better than I can.
No problem. I'm happy to do it, Kurt. I love this little collaboration process we're able to pull off here.
Yeah.
I'm going to say staff creates a teleconference. To review comments with applicant and staff. All right.
Great. All right. Are we back
on 4D?
Yep.
It's a plural in most cases. Permits are issued.
All right.
It's the grading permit. In this case, I would just say the GRAD and the ENCR case types are issued at that point.
I'll just rewind it.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Are we back down to 5?
Documents are digitally signed. I think in this case, 4E, we're talking about the digitally signed by the applicant, by the contractor.
Hey, Mark, we need to include hard copies. We can't
Yeah,
expect everything to be done digitally.
Yeah, I think we have two things to talk about there, Kurt. One was we like to sign the plans before they're issued. And I don't know if we captured that. Plan checker approved stamps plan. Sorry, I'm going to go and do a quick edit on two, why don't we say stamp and sign plans. Sorry, okay, there. And then the hard copy side of it, permits are issued. Permits are issued right there. Can we create we usually do a hard copy process at 4C to 4D, verification of contractor's license and business. And before the permits are issued, we end up with with hard copies as well as digital copies. So how do we want to talk a little bit about the future, in that we might end up with just PDFs on the inspector's drive and PDFs on the contractor's side, so they have to have like a laptop in order to construct, or that they can do their own prints, and then the inspectors can do their own prints. We still have a bit of a paper process in the physical world of physical construction. I think our inspectors and our contractors are still very, naturally physical. Construction's a very physical process. And I think they're still used to physical plans. Are we going to support that as a business practice?
I believe it, and I need people much higher than me to speak to this, but I believe that the mandate is paperless.
It can't be. You can't dictate that contractors do everything electronically. It's not going to work. They're going to have a whole lot of subcontractors. All of them need to review plans. I don't think you can make all of that electronic.
It's probably worth a discussion to have a discussion on that.
Mark, if I can interject real quick, this is Anne Marie. What we do, because our contractors are the same as yours, they want the paper plan.
Yeah.
When we approve them electronically and stamp them, we send them, once they pay for everything and we issue the permit, we send them the plans electronically that have been stamped by us and tell them to print them out and have them out at the job site for the inspectors. So that could be an option for you guys as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good discussion to have, because I do think that clearly the current practice is to burden the time and money on the developer to produce the physical plans that both contractors, subcontractors, and the inspectors need in order when they get out in the field. I do think there's still a physical paper practice in the field. I think the question for us is, how do we want to support that or not? So I think that's a fine process, and I'd be happy to try to integrate that into our practice as well. One issue there, of course, is that we typically have a physical set in our office, but I think it sounds like we'll be stepping away from that physical process.
Correct. So for us in building and safety, all of our plans get scanned and are uploaded into OnBase.
Nice, and we do a similar thing. We don't currently, I know we're in transition for city drawings to go onto OnBase. We currently have our own database called Record Drawing Management Tool, which is working really well. And we upload the Mylar images, the PDFs of the Mylar images into Record Drawing Management. But I think there's a good effort in place currently to move that over to OnBase also.
Hey, real quick, with the OnBase, this is Chuck, City Inspector. When we do as-built in the field or red lines as construction's going, we normally write on a set of paper plans in a job trailer or construction truck, where it may be, for future. Is that going to be something we do now in InterGov or on this OnBase or Bluebeam, where everybody can see it? That's why we need the paper plans in the field.
So Chuck, what I'm hearing is that you mark on the plan in the field the areas that you've inspected. Is that right? It's part of your inspection record?
Or if there's a change, an elevation change in storm drains, sewer lateral, anything that's been changed as an as-built or a red line that will eventually make it to a Mylar, those are added in the field, initialed, signed, and dated per current practice. Some of these projects, as you know, are 3 or 4 years long.
Yep.
So those as-bills don't make it over to the Mylar for quite a few years, and we don't have record of it. Is that going to change?
So if I were to brainstorm with the group right now, I might say that I think Bluebeam potentially is our tool where you have a construction PDF and you start doing Bluebeams to recognize the changes in the field in anticipation of a record drawing however many years down the road. And that's one way we could go from kind of a physical process to an electronic process. But I do think it requires hearing from you, Chuck, and how that's going to work for you guys as well as the building inspectors.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. Currently, we use PlanGrid for the CIP in a few projects, and that does give us the capability of writing as-built or red lines as we go. I have not used Bluebeam. I know nobody in the inspection, the public works inspection side has Bluebeam experience. It'd be interesting to see how we integrate that.
It will be interesting to see how you integrate that. It sounds like you might want to use PlanGrid.
Okay. You want me to forward it to finance? Yeah. You want a copy of? No. Okay. I'm willing to give you original back.
Okay.
Thanks.
We've got some noise
Kurt,
in the background.
can you share
If you
with the
could
group?
mute your microphone, please. Thank you.
Kurt, can you share with the group what the goal is that you told us the other day when we were working through this on the community development and fire side that the goal was within 2 weeks or by April 24th to have a fully digital process, right? That's what we're talking about right now, is documenting the process, not the ideal process, not how the process can be improved for the future or EnerGov implementation, but like what we have to have in place in the next, 2 weeks citywide? Is that what we're going over now? But EnerGov is going to be something different. So like what we end up, the EnerGov phase 1 or phase 2, that's a different discussion, correct?
That's true. That's right, Joe. We have to deliver to management a solution so that we do not have to have face-to-face interaction. That's our mandate, and we have to find a way to make that happen. So let us continue to explore that. We're reaching the top of the hour. I would like to get to the bottom of this process, and then we'll break for 5 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll dive into the technology. Are there that last step there? Customer makes plan available for inspection. Does that need any sub-steps, Mark? Or is that the same step for you?
Well, it's a new step. Ann said that that's what they're doing. I think it's something that we could certainly support. That way there's physical plans in the field, but we in the office could still be using the PDF. We would no longer have physical prints in the office.
Right.
That's a big decision to make. But I think it's one we're certainly ready to make and support if that's the decision we're all going with.
All right.
We can make the contractor, whoever, or the developer order copies, including stuff that we need.
Mm-hmm.
Once the plans are signed, they need to make hard copies available.
All right. Have we missed
So just to back up on that, and sorry, Kurt, not to take too much time, so feel free to turn me off anytime you need to. No. We have a process where we sign the city Mylars, for long-term asset management. And so I think where you have in your process that we stamp and sign the plans electronically, we'll have to develop that a little more fully on our end, the city civil set, and then what we end up with is a electronic set of plans, and those could be reproduced by the contractor and his subcontractors if that's what they want to do in the field for their business practice. So I do think your step 5 works fine, and it supports building in the same process.
Wonderful. All right, everybody. We are at 11 o'clock. I want to break for 5 minutes to give everybody a chance to stretch their legs. And we're going to come back at 11:05. What we're going to do is take these 5 steps and all their sub-steps and explore the technology that's needed to do these in the near and the long term. Let's take 5 minutes. I'll see you all at 11:05.
Okay, sounds good, Kurt.
Meeting with,
Hey, Kurt,
Yes? Yes, Chandra?
I forwarded the email from Peter Gilly to you and Ian. That has a new revised list of like monitors and other things he needed.
So that it has the totals, the numbers of the items?
That has the totals that he needs, yes.
Oh, very good, very good.
Yeah, it was way lower than last time, like first time he submitted. So that's the one, like they're going to put it through this COVID-19 logistics, so I can move fast on that one. All right, just an update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, it's 11:05. We are back. And I know that there's some messages going on there. I'm trying to keep up with people's comments. Don't be shy. It's a little hard to keep up with comments all at once. People are sending me email too. Speak up. If you have a particular comment, we appreciate that. Andrew Myers, he mentioned a comment here. I just wanted to go over that real quick about the not being sure there's an exact limitation number for InGov clients performing electronic plan review. So that's something to consider, what the capacity limit may be. But if it's a Bluebeam session, it's a different session. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to it. We are back over here. We have gone over our 5 steps for public works. The goal in the next 54 minutes is to identify all the technology. If we can do that by the end of this, by 11 o'clock, we will have achieved something significant. Mark, are you back? Not quite yet. Okay, let's wait for Mark to get back. He's key to this. We've added some new lines here that are completely blank. We'll have to fill those in. So Ventura Water folks, are any of you out there right now?
Yeah, I'm here. This is Adam.
All right. Hopefully what you've seen in the last hour has been helpful. We need to do the same thing with your group. If you can please think about a process that's well representative of Ventura Water's needs, and we will do exactly the same thing, explore the details, and then find the technology. That'd be
Yeah,
great.
it was good for us to hear this, but our process is a little different because it's dependent on other departments, kind of, I guess, similar to the fire department, where like land development and planning and building, they all route plans to us. So we don't have at least that first step on there.
All right.
Where applicants will come in and actually submit things to us. So I guess we just need to talk about how this spreadsheet's going to work for us in that respect.
All right. Mark, are you back?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm back. And if I missed something, I did hear what Adam was speaking to a little. And we do kind of have to talk a little bit about business practice, because I think Ventura Water has an independent path to building and safety for building plans, but they currently receive plans from Public Works, for the major capital work, for the major infrastructure, water and sewer.
All right.
From Public Works.
All right. So the only part you missed, Mark, was my specification of what our goal is for the next 50 minutes. We want to take the 5 steps that your team has helped outline here, and we want to identify where technology and what technology is needed to address those. Key thing, as Joe Morale said, we want to see what is needed right now. Like literally, what do we need to have in place for technology, like maybe by the end of the week, if possible, to let you do your job? And what do we need in the long term? And the reason that's important is if we can find that it's the same thing, then great, we've killed 2 birds with 1 stone. So here's how we do this. I'm going to make this screen a little bit smaller. Hopefully that's still big enough to see. I'm going to put a line right here across the top. You can see the first item, step 1A. Customer contacts city and submits application and plans. A, checks websites, finds email. The technology need is a website. And so I'm going to ask you, are you doing that now? Mark,
Yes, Kurt. Yes, Kurt. We We do have a pretty active website that's been updated pretty regularly. The Thomas Fire really kicked that into overdrive, of course. And so we have been updating our website, and I think it's pretty accurate.
All right. So then
for an improvement, but in general, the website's a great contact.
So I'm going to leave this in green, and the parentheses means in place. So for the immediate need, no need. We've got that in place. Everybody understand how that works?
It needs to be, Kurt, it needs to be set up in the development services website.
So it needs to be moved or changed to a different page or something?
Well, I think that might be another discussion. Let us know how that kind of rolls out here over the next couple of weeks. But currently, I think our Public Works website is working pretty good, and people are used to going there.
Okay.
And I think our names and numbers have been out there pretty consistently. So I think in that sense, it's fine business practice, but let us know from the team, you know, how that's expected to change or not change. Just let us know.
Great. Moving forward, for optimal technology options, CSS, as I mentioned at the start of the meeting, that's Customer Self-Service Portal. That's a piece of the EnerGov Enterprise system that will be available in EnerGov Phase 1. Okay, I think we've covered that item. Next item, 1B, contacts development services who walks them through the process. For community development, they were doing that through email. Therefore, there's no need. In EnerGov Enterprise, that will be done through CSS. Is there any change for your group? Mark?
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's a little bit small on the screen.
Sorry, let me make it bigger.
The communication via email is yeah, I think email is a good form of communication. It's working fine, and yeah, email is good.
Great.
I think there was a thought that down the road we'd be using SharePoint, but I think our current communication with the public, email is a fine way to go.
All right, down the road we should be using CSS, which is basically the website with EnerGov that we'll have. That's how most municipalities do it. Okay, step.
Yeah, immediate technology email is good.
Great. 1B1, the application. Currently, Community Develop has a PDF. It's working. Later, they'll be doing the same thing. Is that right for you too?
Well, yeah. So, you know, I think what got me a little off track is I think I see at the bottom you have Public Works tab highlighted. Are you working on the Public Works tab?
Yes.
It does look like it. I thought that got edited. Are we still at the Development Services? Is that the customer contact?
I am on the Public Works tab. Yes.
Yeah. So is that the plan to have people? I thought we were just editing that right before the break. We started out with that and we edited that to Public Works. So let me know what your thought is. I thought we edited that.
Unless the internet has let us down, does it look like all the other edits that we did are in here?
It does, but this one I thought we had as checks the website and contacts Public Works.
You remember
because the email presumably.
Do you remember this is this? I think this is the cell where I think we had two people in it at once. Maybe it got clobbered because of that. Could you?
I think it got a little clobbered because I
think we learned something important. Can you edit that?
Can I edit that?
Yeah.
It on mine it's.
You're talking about 1BI, right?
Yeah, 1B.
1B, okay. If it doesn't say what it wants, just say, can you make it say that? Say the correct thing now, please.
Okay.
I won't touch that cell.
Okay.
And I think we did learn that thou shalt not trespass another person's cell edits. It clobbers it.
editing it. I don't know if it's showing up on your screen, but I'm almost done editing. I'll walk them through the process. Okay, and I'll click out. It should be updated. Good.
Yep, there we go. Yep.
Yes, the middle package. Okay, I see everything there. That was the only change that didn't show up.
Okay, great. I have to fit it all on the screen. I have to kind of go back and forth. So are we okay then to go on to the next one? The eDoc, it's just a PDF, right?
Sure, yep.
Okay, the next step I'm highlighting here is ensure submittal package completeness. That requires that the technology that's needed is, imagine someone's working from home, they need a VPN to get to EnerGov desktop to look at the PDF, and they'll need the big monitors for the better resolution.
So it looks like, things kind of got a little messed up there, Kurt, because we did walk through a process, and I don't think, like, for example, we don't ensure completeness until the customer submits the filled out PDF and link. So that did get something happened there.
Can we try to fix it now?
You see?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it did get changed, obviously, because the sequence, the number one, they contact the website, they find the emails, they contact public works staff, walk them through the process. The process is application, and then ensure submittal completeness. And then we had staff sends, but where's that one? That's actually down here on send applicant wire, send great folder download. Yeah, I think we're missing something there, Kurt. Item or two went away.
Let's try to add it back in.
Yeah, staff walks through the process. Application. So we're not going to ensure. I think on 1B2, we're just walking them through the submittal package requirements.
Okay.
And then the customer, and then staff. So we need to add. Why don't we say this? Application. And I'm going to edit right here, Kurt. I'm talking. It may not be showing up.
I can see when you edit.
Submittal package.
Three bouncing ellipses.
Yeah. Customer submits plan. So we need to have staff sends FTP link is what's missing.
All right. Is that between 2 and 3?
That's between 2 and 3.
There's a row for you.
Okay, great. And I'm just gonna item I.
All right. And I'll change the one below to I. Well, that's not I. It's IV.
Okay. Staff sends FTP link for uploading.
IV. I got too many I's.
Middle. Okay. It should pop up. Did it pop up?
I didn't see the that showed you were doing anything.
I didn't see it either.
Oh, there.
Hold on. What happened?
Maybe it's just a delay.
My little I just didn't pop up.
Oh, there. Now I can see it.
Uh-oh. Oh, I see what's happening. Somehow it went away. I'll type it again. Staff sends FTP link for the middle uploads. Okay. And then I'm just gonna click out of it. It usually comes in here, return.
There it is.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, nice. And then customer submits plans and filled out forms via FTP link. That's good.
Great. So for that new item there, what should we put in for the technology? Immediate technology options. Email and FTP, right?
Yeah.
And you're doing that now, right?
We're doing that now, yeah. FTP is working great. It has been for some time.
Yeah, FTP, that's old.
It has a two terabyte capacity there in total at any one time active.
So I'm putting email and FTP and no need, right? Because you've got those.
Right. Everything's there. I think everybody has access to both.
And so customer submits plans and filled out, but you need to be accessing EnerGov desktop to get the customer's information, right?
Well, once we get the plans and the application, which is 1B4, then we go to 2A. So I think that's working well. And we really don't go into EnerGov at all until 2B, where it says create the permit. And then we kind of reproduce that statement in 2C, where we say create EnerGov plan case number.
All right. So this is my first.
So the first time we go into EnerGov is 2B or 2C, depending on how we want to edit that right now.
Okay, this is my first chance to call on somebody. Jason Huffnagel, are you out there?
Yes, I am.
Jason, I'm so glad you're here. This step we're on right now, staff sends FTP link for submittal uploads. In EnerGov Enterprise, will we be able to do that from EnerGov?
So you can send out emails from if you click on the contact, you can send out emails to other whoever's applying for it. You could do it that way. But if they're going to using CSS, they would have the ability when they're submitting the application. So they're submitting like for a permit, let's say for a GRIM, you would ask for those plans before that would even happen. That's how CSS would work.
So the root of my question is, can we get away with this whole FTP thing once we have EnerGov Enterprise?
You can, but it wouldn't be enabling, I guess, e-reviews. That's how it would work. It wouldn't. It's either one or the other kind of a thing. I think that's how it would work.
So my question is, and Mark, I need your help too. Are we going to need to have duplicate this for the long-term solution, or can we drop the FTP here for when we go to EnerGov Enterprise?
Well, I think I would have to. I have no idea what the customer self-service feature of EnerGov is at this point. I think I'd need to hear from Jason whether using the customer self-service allows the customer to upload all of his PDFs to a website that we can access, review, and file. I don't know how that works.
So it's very similar how they would upload their documents through CSS, and so you can list out what attachments are required. So like you can say, their plans for, their civic plans are required. Let's say a photographic ID of the person is required. All these different things are required. And then when it gets submitted to them, that's how e-reviews get started, and they can use Bluebeam to mark up the plans. So you wouldn't need the FTP information. If you didn't want to go the route of an e-reviews, like within EnerGov, then you could use an FTP. You could send that information that way.
So that sounds like a big, overarching business practice decision for the city to make as a whole. I think we could go either way, Kurt, in Public Works. Obviously, if the city wanted to invest and support in the customer self-service portal with, what was it, AWS, the Amazon Web Service Cloud, to receive and store all of our documents and then do Bluebeam in the cloud, we could certainly do that. It's just a technology decision. I think what we actually do day to day is the same, which is the review of technical documents.
I'm going to go ahead and list this as a future option, right? It may not be the one we choose, but it is an option, right?
It sounds like it's a solid option.
Okay, Jason, thank you.
No problem.
So next one, we are closing on the bottom of the 11 o'clock hour, is the customer submits plans and filled out PDF forms via FTP link. So again, FTP or Dropbox. Would you be interested in changing to Dropbox, Mark?
Yeah, I'm putting Dropbox at the bottom of my list as in terms of things that we would like to use and support. I don't think we should prohibit it, because I think any source of communicating, I think it's a fine way to do it. It's far from preferred.
Okay.
So I would use Dropbox at the bottom of the list, not number 2. So FTP number 1, customer service portal maybe number 2, and then WeTransfer is one where you don't need to have any city staff with their own account in order to download those documents.
All right, I've added Dropbox up here to line 10 too, as that's an option, but we're currently using email and FTP. Good. Moving on to step 2, process plan and permit. A, download FTP site and create eDrive folder for project. What's the technology that we do that?
Just the download from the FTP and create the site. You know, that's just Windows Explorer. So I think there's no additional technology.
FTP and file management, right? File manager.
Yeah. The one thing I would say there is, you know, we are always asking IT for more room on our drives, and I know that's just a file management method, but I do find that ultimately, you know, we're going to have more and more storage.
So
if there's a technology need.
The eDrive, of course, is in our intranet, so we need the VPN access to get to that, right? Yes.
Well, and we have to have a significant amount of allocated storage space. It's we're often pushing. You know, if you look at our drives right now, they're all in the 90s, 95, 99s, and turning red.
All right, so that's good. So we've identified the technology, and let's just make a little note there. You know, storage, you know, is an issue.
Yeah.
So there's
you know, long term, Kurt, I think a SQL file server, an image server, as I understand the term, is super helpful as we begin to formalize our retrieval, and perhaps that's what OnBase is considered to be.
Indeed, it is. So yeah, I've added email, VPN, and storage, and that adds a new piece of technology to our technology needs, which is, let's go ahead and add that down here under the rows, which is storage, which we'll have to explore. You know,
which an image server using, you know, PDFs would be awesome. I'm not sure if we have quite that level of storage.
Or I'm going to say additional space on shared drives or alternate solution. Great. At least we've captured that. That's great. Thank you. Boy, that's nice. We've uncovered something new. For the long term, to download FTP site in, well, it's kind of an NA because it would be Energov. Energov Enterprise would take care of this for us, I think, and that would be handled through Energov Phase 1. Good. So now on to 14, which is open documents and create permit. We currently need the VPN, the PDF, Energov desktop, and monitors. Is that correct?
Yeah, that sounds correct.
So, but we have
PDF. One technology need that hasn't really been brought up that I have found to be incredibly useful is we're using pretty high-powered computers as a general term in order to manage all of these files. But I think the key piece, although the monitor is nice, I think the key to a fast image response on the screen is a powerful and large capacity graphics card. We all have large graphic cards to make that happen. Oddly enough, I think that's the bottleneck in our computer is the graphics card. So when we go for these big monitors, we need to go for equally big graphics cards.
And Mark, I think that might be addressed by a separate activity where the city is pursuing new computers, laptops for the team, which I think.
Yeah, I just don't want that. I just wouldn't want that to get forgotten because it really is the bottleneck in the response to the screen, right, and using multiple large images.
Right. All right. So let's see. Let's make a little note here about that. And
like a 16 gigabyte graphics card minimum, you know, is crucial. They're like $300-400.
Yes, I will make note of that, and so we will cover that with IT about the needs for the better graphic cards. Although I think that decision's already been made. There are very powerful computers that we're getting. Okay, then
But
that's
we
good.
just to hit that one last time, we've all had very powerful computers in engineering as well, but we've had to upgrade the graphics card subsequently in order to really manage those large PDF files.
You know, this is so important that let's call this out as, I mean, I agree, this is very important. Let's call this out as a separate item. Capable graphics. Graphics, right? You know,
a graphics card, a GPU with like minimum 16 gigabyte memory on just the graphics card.
With sufficient capability to handle our workload. Example 16. All right. Well, what was the spec you recommended? Sorry.
Well, I'm finding 16 gigabyte minimum graphics card, which is quite large.
Mark W. Okay, I'll add your recommendation in there. Good. That's another good one. All right. And if it does sound like I'm rushing, don't let me rush us. If we have to go longer into the afternoon, that's fine. I do want to be respectful of people's time. So good. So we have that. We made note about the graphics card, VPN plus monitors, and graphics. And graphics card. Great. Let's just add that note here. And graphics card. Okay, let's moving on now to step 15, which is create EnerGov plan case number and electronic stamp linked to the permit. Current need is VPN plus Adobe Acrobat Pro, or it could be Bluebeam plus EnerGov desktop plus monitors. And we'll just keep in mind that the graphics card is considered for all of those. And the current need then, because we already have EnerGov desktop, is the VPN, Adobe Pro, Acrobat Pro, and monitors. Yes?
Yeah.
All right, next one. Send applicant wire, and this is new. Send applicant wire instructions for payment of plan check fee. What do we need? Like by pay by mail, or how do you do this? What's the
So the wire transfer process, I think, is working well. You know, it requires that awesome finance person. Jennifer's been great to help that happen. And so that's a technology that's kind of outside of my world, because I just I have a letter that has the wiring instructions from Wells Fargo, the city's bank, that we regularly hand out to our developers for large payments.
So it's just a wire transfer, like you give them the routing number and the account number and off they go, right?
Yes, and off they go. And then it just requires that we, the way we physically do that is with a treasury receipt, where we not only receive the money, but then we distribute to the appropriate accounts, because most of our money goes to multiple accounts. But what we can do is we can do that electronically. We can fill out the paperwork, a writable PDF. We send that over to Jennifer once the money's received, and she posts the money to the appropriate accounts, revenue accounts.
All right, and with EnerGov, we don't need anything because that's already in place, and for immediate. And for long term, this might be addressed with our cashier module, I believe, right? I'm not, Jason, in invoking your name, I'm not saying that you're guaranteeing this, but that technology is there, right?
Yes, that technology is there, and you have the ability to pay with CSS. You can pay online. So you don't even need to get sent like a wire information, like a wire transfer information. You can pay online with a credit card or a debit card, or you could even pay with, I think you can pay with an online check on there, as well as an account transfer.
All right.
If the payment's sent to multiple accounts, can you see that online as well, or on the invoice? Like if part of the fee's fire, part is public works, or anyone it's routed to, is that on the optimal need?
It would be on the report that Anne-Marie asked for, with multiple what's going on with your cash receipts during the day, or receipts going on during the day, and that can be seen what GL account it's going to.
You know, Jason, one thing I would ask that I find very difficult in EnerGov currently is when I look at all the fees that are associated with a case, they list the fee, but they don't tell you what revenue account they're going to, and that's a real challenge currently. Is the new version of EnerGov going to actually tell us what account that's going to?
When you say account, it's, I mean, if it's difference from the GL account, then
No,
it
GL
can
account.
be,
Right now, it's hard to find the GL account, the actual GL account, the fund, the program, the project, you know, and the appropriate expense or revenue, the revenue account that it's going to.
you can. There are reports that you have the capabilities of doing that.
But you have to run a separate report, and you can't actually just go into the case and go, okay, great, I see where the money's going. It's the reason I say that is because usually when we receive a significant payment, we do a separate treasury receipt or a transaction receipt for the treasury, where we by hand list out the appropriate revenue accounts to go to, and then it gets transacted, but it's outside of EnerGov. And so it's a little challenging to actually go back and see exactly what was paid and what account it went to. And so for that reason, this technology of payment, currently, it is a bit of a technological challenge. It's one thing to get it done. It's another to actually go back and retrieve what was done.
No, I understand where you're coming from, Mark, on that. You know, making sure, you know, where that money is going to, what accounts, and for the treasury to track all that information every single day and close out the accounts. I understand where you're coming from with that, but yeah, unfortunately, with the reports, it's a separate report. It doesn't come naturally on the regular invoice of each plan case. It doesn't do that currently.
All right, let's move on. So the next one, the workflow, 2E, assigned to plan checkers for each department division, in-house or contractor. That's currently being done through EnerGov desktop and an email for submittal. That's how community development does it. Is that right? Is that the same for you?
Well, I think what we're going to be doing, currently we don't put in each and every plan review comment and content in EnerGov, but I think our goal right now is to actually do that. So I think that's a fine statement to make.
So this step
now,
is to
how we're going to do that, I think, Kurt, I'm sorry, but I think how we're going to do that's still a question. When we go into Bluebeam and we make a comment, it's not clear to me how that goes into the EnerGov case to show the comment. That's a gray area for me. I don't know how that's working.
I don't think it does. I think we're getting a little out of the scope of this, but I think it just stays within the Bluebeam application. I'm not sure.
So therefore, it might be difficult then to go into EnerGov and actually see what each person actually said.
So I think I'm afraid we might be beyond the scope of this one item here, which is basically just assigning to plan checkers, right? So that's just want to make sure we stay within the scope of this item. And all we need to do that is EnerGov desktop at this time, right? And an email.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll come back to that larger question in a second. But right now, in order to do that, the piece that you're missing for the people working from home is VPN. That's why I have the tech need is VPN. And then later, VPN and EnerGov desktop, EnerGov enterprise. Great. And I will come back to, we're getting close to that point that you were just making, Mark. We're not going to ignore that. The next step, line 18, is distribute link for plan reviews to all in, it should be all in E, right? Because we added a line.
Yeah. Yes, it should be the one above.
Right, let me change that, all in E. And the mechanism for doing that is email right now, right?
Yes. We currently just send out an email. Here's the plans. Go to P Drive. And send us your copy.
And do you need to be looking at EnerGov desktop to be able to get the information to send the email? I think so.
No, there's we should have a P Drive, a public drive a file structure for them, and you could go there and do that without going into EnerGov.
Okay, so that does speak to the VPN to get in there, email, and
VPN would be crucial, obviously, because it's the P Drive.
Yes, that's right. So that's why I added that in. So good. Great. So what the heck is VPP? VPN plus there. So remember the parentheses means that's what you've got, but to do it from home, you need VPN to get in. So the need then is VPN. The long term is, again, working from home is VPN plus, and come on, pick it up, EnerGov Enterprise, and that will be addressed with VPN plus EnerGov Phase 1. Well, look at us, we did it. Moving on to 19. We're doing good. We have about 20 minutes left. Plan checkers enter plan comments in Bluebeam. Okay, now we're coming back to the stuff we were talking about before, Mark, sorry. And community development would do this with VPN, EnerGov Desktop, add Acrobat Pro, and internal and for contractor. And all they've got right now is the Acrobat Pro. How about you?
Well, yeah, we definitely are using the Acrobat Pro, and it's a very useful tool. I think Bluebeam is what I'm hearing we as a city want to use, so we want to support the ability to use Bluebeam. But in each case, it's not clear to me how that information is actually stored in the case. You know, currently you go into EnerGov, you open up the permit case, you look at the reviewer, and you have their listed comments. And that's why I made the comment a couple of days ago that, you know, a Word is always a good default tool because it's what we currently use. Everybody's got it, and it's great to put your comments in writing. Jason, I think Bluebeam also gives it to you in writing, but it's not clear to me how it goes from Bluebeam into the EnerGov case itself.
I don't think it does. Jason Huffnagel, is that true?
Yes, if you make any markups on Bluebeam, it doesn't go into the Bluebeam. It doesn't go into like the case of the review. You have to then manually write in comments or putting in conditions or corrections for the submitter to go ahead and fix moving forward. The only thing Bluebeam does is it allows multiple people have access to mark up the same document. That's the only. It's one of the functionalities of Bluebeam being able to do that.
So I think it's our intent, Kurt, and I certainly don't mean to be speaking for the city as a whole, but from everything I've been hearing, we want to use Bluebeam, but Bluebeam doesn't appear to produce a separate written document that we can actually upload into EnerGov and have available over time to draw back and say, this is what was said. In other words, not that we want to go there, but we do want to be really clear in writing about what's needed, not just kind of a little sketch or note like you would on a red line. You want to be, I believe, legally correct, and you want to be as clear as you can be in writing. Maybe quote the code section and maybe explain why that's applicable. And Word document, of course. And
Mark, I don't think that technology exists. I think literally, and Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, I think literally you would have to type that into EnerGov in the comments section. Is that what it's called, Jason? The comments?
It's called comments, but you can also, it's corrections. So like there's a corrections library, there's a conditions library, there's a recommendations as well. And if you were, let's say, making a conditions library or even a corrections library, you could add all the code items in there. And so you could run a report of what was needed for, what was said, by each reviewer. So each different version. So you could run a report for that. And that is one of the reports being created.
And
so what it is.
The key piece is though that you can't pull that out of Bluebeam. It's got to be typed into Bluebeam and then typed into EnerGov. That's just a fact. Right? Is it a fact?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and that's an unhappy fact, but it seems to be the way it is right now, Mark. I wish there was an alternative around that.
I'm all for the decision of the group. If I was you, I would just take a minute and maybe repeat that just so everybody was totally aware that, that's a sizable time commitment that's expected. And in order to get that, daily, I think we have to commit to that as a group.
Okay.
We're here 100% to support the group. I just think the group needs to make that decision and acknowledge the workload that's necessary to make the system work with Bluebeam and EnerGov in the way that we want it.
Yeah, I'll be glad to repeat that, and Jason will hopefully keep me honest. Basically, if you have corrections and comments in Bluebeam, you need to make those note those in the Bluebeam software and then duplicate them in the EnerGov software to have them recorded there from which you can generate reports. Is that correct, Jason?
Yes, that is correct.
Do you have to note it the same in both locations, or is Bluebeam taking the place of what we would normally hand write onto a plan? So when we do a plan review, a lot of our corrections might just be marked on the plan because it's easier to show what's needed by marking up or crossing off or doing something on the plan. But then in EnerGov, you put your corrections, and right now what we do is we say, here's your corrections items 1 to 6, and the 6th one might be also see markups on the plan and make corrections. Is it similar?
That's how exactly that's how exactly it works, Joe.
Okay, got it.
The Bluebeam is meant just so you can mark things up, circle things, and you can, let's say, fire was going to be using red, so you can label it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that way, whenever you send the corrections to the person, you go, look at number 1, I circled it, look where, and you can put what needed to be corrected here, by, some sort of code standards, and, and that way you could do it that's how it would be done.
Okay,
so it
and that's what we
that
need.
document
So
would
that's
just
great.
be to for viewing purposes. You wouldn't see all the corrections, like, written out, verbatim, code line by code line item on the written in Bluebeam. You wouldn't see it like that.
Got it. Thank you.
So with that, I think, we really need to come together as a group here soon, Kurt. Maybe it's a separate action item, and try to be clear on the business practice. I think what we'll find is that the Word document, the written word, is going to take precedent over the red line clarification. I think red lines have traditionally been, and still legally are, simply a clarification tool and not the primary way in which we communicate, both just because of the way we communicate, but also for legal purposes. I think the Word document may still be the primary tool. And I think we need to walk that through a little bit.
All right. Yeah, no, I'm glad to share this with anybody, and I will begin sharing that fact with anybody and everybody that needs to know.
And just to be clear, I'm not advocating for it. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page about the time commitment, and also what is the legal priority? Which one do we really want to produce?
I understand.
If we had, okay.
In fact, it's so important that I'm going to make an action item for it. Actually, this, yeah, communicate fact of Bluebeam and EnerGov comments / corrections. Okay, I'll take that as an action item to myself to communicate that to the steering committee. Thank you for lingering on that. That's a really important point. And let's move on. We have about 12 minutes, and again, I'm happy to go over time, but I just want to make sure we're respectful of everyone's time. The next one is plan checkers enter plan review corrections. It's the same thing, right? So VPN plus EnerGov desktop, Acrobat plus monitors. And by the way, where you're seeing Acrobat Pro here, that's probably going to change, will change to Bluebeam. Like, why don't I just make that change now? Right? We're going. Joe, I know that you mentioned before that we need Acrobat Pro to get us there quickly, but I'm getting feedback from management that they want us to go to Bluebeam. No intermediary.
That's fine as long as they know that our process is stopped right now and we cannot serve customers. So that's okay.
All right, so I wanted to undo that thing I just did, because this is the immediate thing and you're using Acrobat Pro now. So how are you, I'm sorry, I've muddied the waters, everybody. Let me come back to this one again. Plan checker enters plan review corrections. Currently, you're doing that in EnerGov, right, Mark?
No, and I think that's currently what we're doing is we're receiving a Word document with the written comments in the form of an email.
Okay, wow. So that's email email plus Word attachment, right?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. What's an EA mail? There we go. Okay. So you don't, if you're in the current case, you're getting by with that, right? That's fine. I mean, it works for now. What I mean. So no need.
The red lines then are used. The red lines are then used as an aid to help clarify. You know, words don't always capture what you need to say, so the red lines are supplemental when needed.
All right. Are red lines, and forgive my ignorance, are red lines literally the markup in the document?
Yeah, the markup. So Bluebeam is producing. Funny, it's called Bluebeam. It's creating the red line, right? It's the common red ink that you might see on a set of plans to help clarify the written word.
Got it. So next on to the last one of 2I, plan checkers approve, stamp, and sign plans. To do this now, community development was using Energov desktop plus Acrobat Pro. Same for you?
Well, I think that's where we're a little challenged right now. We're taking plans in, and currently we've got a couple of Thomas Fire Mylars that we have come in and physically signed and are still following a bit of a physical process because we don't have that fully vetted, fully electronic method in place that I think would work. We do for encroachment permits, we simply do scanning of the sketches since it's not a city Mylar process.
So what are you doing? So to the point of this cell that we're in right now, what technology would you, as out there, that you might need to help you do what you need to do, right, for this step?
Yeah, I think DocuSign would work fine from what I hear. It's applicable to plans, any document.
Okay. Okay, so I'm hearing.
But I certainly, you know, we're here to hear what's working and what it is we want to do so that we're in step with the group.
So this includes stamps. So stamps would be Bluebeam, and so Bluebeam and DocuSign, and big monitors and VPN.
Yeah, a big item for us is the signature. We have both the city engineer and the land development engineer sign a set of plans that have already been signed by the civil engineer, and so we are looking to that electronic system here shortly.
Okay, and I'm taking the parentheses off because you're not using these things. So, okay, good. A lot of pluses there. You need a VPN.
Kurt, for reviewers outside of Public Works, so anyone it's routed to, we need to be able to show our approval as well. So whatever is done for Public Works, like we'll follow and we can do it the same way. But I just want you to know that the technology needs for this one go across different departments that touch Public Works plans.
All right. So is this correct?
So I think we're totally supportive. I think of a multitude of signatures on city civil drawings. You know, traditionally, just the city engineer signs the city civils, and he's taken that role from listening to each department's needs and making sure that the right outcome is there. And I think if you want to expand that, as we have with Ventura Water, I think we should talk more about how that works. And I think we welcome a multitude of signatures on city civil plans if that's what's wanted.
All right.
Yeah, I think it makes it clear once it's
Changing business practice, and I think it's something that we could clarify here soon.
Okay. Plus DocuSign plus monitors. Again, just adding. I'm just catching up here. Plus DocuSign plus monitors. All right. So for this, for the immediate term, you'd need a VPN to get into Energov Desktop to get the information. You'd need Bluebeam to make the stamps, DocuSign to do the signatures, and the big monitors to see it all clearly. Right?
Yes.
Great. And good. Now let's take this real quick, copy that, and go over to Fire real quick, because I think you have a step like this too, right? So, Merritt, where is that? Joe, because I want to add it in. Oh, there it is. Plan checker approves. Plan. You need the same technology to do the same thing, right, Joe?
Yeah, we cannot provide service today because we don't have Adobe Pro. So that's why we put in a request for that. So I'd like to maybe talk with you after this. I want to make sure everyone all the way up to Akbar understands that we literally cannot serve our customers right now without Adobe Pro. And if as long as that's understood, that's okay if they want us to wait 2 weeks for Bluebeam, but we are not providing service right now.
Yeah, I mentioned that. In fact,
finish the process.
You're gonna have to make a good case for buying Adobe Pro in the interim. So, but I understand your need, and I'm trying to share that need. I'll go with you wherever we need to talk to people to do that.
I would echo Joe's immediate concern day by day. I think Adobe Acrobat Pro is vital in a business practice, regardless of permitting. Outside of the permitting role, it is of such a fundamental need when you're dealing with documents. I think that Joe needs a couple of his staff, at least, including himself, to have Acrobat Adobe Pro immediately.
How do we make this argument to management? I mean, it's me right now going to people and telling them we all know we need Bluebeam, but for now give us Adobe Pro, and everybody's telling me why. Let's not wait. Why are we going to do that?
I'll send you an email, Kurt, that you can share with the steering committee.
Please do.
For at least for fire.
I'll jump in. It's Netta.
Yes.
I would echo Joe and Mark's concerns. We do need to have something in the interim where we can still do plan checking, or literally we have to wait on hold till we get all the seats of Bluebeam to do any plan reviews. So I think we need to communicate this to the steering committee and figure out what the mechanism is to keep doing plan checks until Bluebeam's bought across the board for everyone.
Thank you, Neto. We need, please, your voice in this will be really helpful. So when Joe sends that, I'd like to share that. Maybe you could help out in sharing that message, please.
Sure. I've only been on here 10 minutes, so I've just caught the last 10 minutes, but from what I'm gathering, we need to have some kind of review process until Bluebeam's acquired.
That's the message I'm hearing from Joe, right, Joe?
Yes.
And Mark. Okay, everybody, I've gone ahead and made these updates. Adobe Pro, we have about 3 minutes left. I don't think we're going to finish the end of this. Mark, can you possibly linger on a little bit longer to try and get through the bottom of this section here?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Great.
Anybody else, you're welcome to stay as well. I'm going to kind of just segue right now and let people go who can't stay past 12. Those of you, and there's a lot of you, those of you who have stayed this long, before you leave, hold on. This has been very valuable having everybody in here because we need to do the same thing for each and every department. And we need to have as many people who know the different processes aware of what each department is doing, including departments that aren't your own, so we can spot where the connections are and make sure that we fill any gaps. This was a very productive 2 hours. Thank you for attending so many people. There's another meeting like this on Thursday from 3 to 5. We're going to try to tackle water between now and then. Because these are appearing on your schedule doesn't mean we're going to continue doing this week after week. This should be wrapped up by the end of the week, I hope. Hopefully we won't have to do this past this week. So Ventura Water, I'm going to be reaching out to you. Hopefully we can meet with you this afternoon. Parks and Recreation, we're coming for your group too. Finance and Technology, you're also on the list. And with that, I'll let anybody go that needs to go, and we'll continue working on this. All right? Thanks, everybody.
Hey, Kirk, is there somebody from Parks? I didn't see anybody on the list. There's a couple of callers. Did you recognize anybody from Parks in this meeting?
I don't think so. Emily is our only person Emily Fox is our only person identified who was invited. And I think she had another meeting at that time.
Okay.
But that's no fault of Emily's. I only invited her like 15 minutes before the start of the meeting.
Okay. You know, I bring that up because generally in the city civil process, where we're talking about the design of city parks that we're going to own and maintain, we're generally representing the Parks Department.
Okay.
It's generally been the theme of the city engineer representing all of the city for city ownership, items that they actually will come to own and maintain. And with this business practice as we unfold it, we kind of have to ask ourselves, how is that working, and is it something we still want, or do we want departments to represent themselves in the design of a park, for example?
Yes.
And so I say that only because we need to be clear on our end how that works.
All right.
And therefore, if Parks wants to do more, they need to get invited. If they don't want to do more, then I think we can handle it.
Yes, and so it was just this morning that I finally reached out to Parks and invited them to join us, and they are now on board. And so hopefully Emily will be joining us at our next meeting. If not,
does Nancy know that?
Yes, Nancy's the one that appointed Emily.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Let's continue on with 3A. 3A, let me highlight it there for everybody's benefit for me. Public Works, this is notify the applicant. Public Works notifies customer of approval or comments, and this begins the dialogue loop. Community Development says they're doing all that with email. Are you doing it with email as well?
Yes.
So
email and phone call. So a phone call with an email to follow.
Email plus phone. Let's add it like that. Yep. Great. And so there's no immediate technology need, but the long-term technology need will still be email, right? But it'll be EnerGov assisted email, I think, right?
So I'm glad you said that. You know what? One of the things that and maybe it's a simple fear, but I previously would have my phone mail go directly to my email so that you didn't have two places to go and you could document everything that came in. I'm not sure if that's something that IT is able to do now, but that would be maybe a small request that our phone messages go straight to email.
Phone messages, okay, so you would like to see phone to email capability.
Yeah, I think we have it actually, but I've had it in the past.
So what do you mean by phone message? So you want to write like email?
Yeah, so I used to have in my Outlook, I used to have so you have an email that pops up, but then you would have a phone message that would actually show up. It had a little phone icon next to it. You click on it and you could hear your voicemail through your email.
All right, I think the way this is going to be handled, Jason, Huffnickel, if you're still out there, can't we handle this in EnerGov Enterprise by simply, clicking on a notification thing and it fires off an email through EnerGov Enterprise?
To fire off an email from EnerGov Enterprise, you can email the client that way. But to just click on notification and it just fire an email, it doesn't exactly work like that, Kurt. I mean, on the broad perspective of notifying the client of what's going on with their, their portal or their stuff like that, right. They see things in their own dashboard as well. And they also get notified when they get invoiced. They'll get emails sent to their, their email when they get invoiced, fees and other information as well. So there is just automatic notifications to the client. So
it's in their client. I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's kind of in their customer portal, right? So they go in, they log in, they can see where the status of their application is.
Yes.
So Mark, I think that's where we're headed, and it's going to be the days of us doing it with other email might be disappearing. So this would be EnerGov Enterprise, right? Plus CSS portal, right?
I'd sure love to see what that looks like before I made that statement definitively.
Okay, so that's gonna come up as we proceed with the project, but I believe that's the way the rest of the world uses it with EnerGov. It doesn't mean we should do it that way, but can we table that one for now in the interest of time? Because
sure. Good,
because we have a solution in place that we're headed towards for that. Let's move on. And Jason, thank you for the info. To 3B, staff creates a teleconference to review comments with applicant and staff. Oh, I love that one. That's a new one. That's going to be, you're going to need email. You're not doing this at all right now, right? Or are you?
Well, we have meetings. So yes, we have physical face-to-face meetings in the engineering conference room. I think the goal now is to say, how are we going to do that electronically?
That's
And it
what I
seems
mean.
like, the way to do that is with Microsoft Teams, WebEx, Zoom, any of these features are probably fine.
Plus video conferencing.
Yeah.
And you know what? You've done it, Mark, two in one meeting. You've identified, no, three. This is the third technology gap that you've uncovered. And I can't tell you how wonderful that is. That is exactly what we needed to find, right? So let me go ahead and add that in, is teleconferencing. Conferencing. Hopefully I spelled that right. Great. So let's add that in there. Wow, that's very fruitful. So, and I'm not putting parentheses around this one because you don't have it right now. And so you would need email plus video. Just say
We're teleconferencing now, and it's pretty easy, right? Some people will send us a Zoom or a GoTo, and we'll do the same. WebEx, we're able to, and Microsoft Teams is still featured. We've attended a couple of WebEx, our teleconference meetings in the last 2 weeks.
And I'm going to say no need. Or are you running off of your own? Do you have enough licenses and the like?
Well, I think that's the challenge, is just getting something perhaps a little more universal in nature, so that if any plan checker is asked to join a teleconference to explain their comments, that they can quickly and easily get on board, because some people are more nimble than others.
So I'm just going to add for the immediate need is more like teleconferencing standardization, whereas I think the city's headed towards the Cisco solution, but we need to standardize on it, make sure everybody has the appropriate licenses and enough of them, right? So it's a standardization.
Yeah, and or standardize on one or more. You could have 3 standards as long as everybody knew those 3, so that they weren't confused or unable to attend at the last minute.
Right. I love it.
Really using all of them would be great. It'd be great to do the go-to meeting. Cisco is awesome. WebEx is great. Microsoft Teams is great. Zoom is good. I mean, they're all working fine.
So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more to go. Let's go. And we're doing great work on this. Next one is 4A under permit issuance. The staff sends wire instructions for payment of permits and impact fees. That's email? No?
That's email.
Email.
Yes.
Okay. And
on the staff side, on the public works staff side, it's just an email. On the finance and technology side, I suspect it's logging on to, electronic banking.
Plus e-banking. Let's call that. Okay, yeah, like wire transfer or something like that, right? And that's in process. People are doing that now, right?
We've been doing that for a year or more, year and a half.
So the no need, all that simply means is you don't need anything to get you by right now. You're efficient. You're working on that one. Okay, now so for Jason Huffnickel, if you're still there, will we be able to do this with the native intergov enterprise cashier piece, not the cashier module, but what comes with us with the application?
You're saying send a wire?
Yeah, send a wire, but take payments.
Well, you can take payments, and you can take payments with CSS. I mean, that's the question. Will you be using CSS for all these processes? And if so, then you can take the payments right there through that,
right?
And they'll be invoiced.
So when I keep, it's a mistake on my part to keep calling out the EnerGov native enterprise native cashier module. I should just say CSS, right? CSS has that capability.
Yes.
Got it. Now you've helped me correct my grammar.
Because when you're doing things, if you're doing things wirelessly, yeah, and if they're not coming to the office to pay or if they're not being notified of of invoices, that would all be through the CSS option of going through the portal. That's how everything would be taking place, unless they did it in face-to-face in the office, and things would be done that way.
Okay. Oops, I've crossed things because B is actually where the applicant pays for the permit. So that's down here. So I got my wires crossed. So the first one is just the notification So that should be email, no e-banking, that's just email. Sorry guys, I got my wires crossed. And no need, VPN, and there's nothing, that would be enterprise. I can clean this up in less than 10 more seconds. Fix this problem. There we go. So the second one, that's where the cashier piece is. And you're currently doing this, not through that, you're doing through VPN. You're just doing through e-banking, right? Wire transfer.
Wire transfer, e-banking.
Let's just call it wire transfer so it's consistent. Wire transfer. Call it out.
So a decision, that, and I wanted to ask Jason, was with customer self-service, is there, I heard you say they can put in their routing number and bank account to make a payment. And some of our payments, are $50,000 and $100,000. I think the same thing's true with building and safety. They have numbers that far exceed our credit card capacity. Is there an unlimited amount of money that can come through customer self-service? We've received, I think one of the largest payments we received was a $3 million payment. We do get payments in the $1 million range commonly.
Great question.
5 or 6. Yeah.
So can we handle that much?
I believe you can. I don't know if it comes through a credit card and everything else. Let me get back to you on that information of, payments exceeding, certain amounts of how much, what different things can be taken through online. I believe you can take a lot of those payments. When payments are like that high, like let's say 3 million or 2 million, or, let's say $1 million for that, don't you normally have bonds set up for those, or no? Am I incorrect with, GRIMs of that nature?
So there are two very separate issues. The bonding for the public improvements and grading are millions of dollars, $4, $5, $6, $7 million values, but we actually receive payments in the 5, 6, 7, 800,000 million. We did one last year for 3 million. So they're two very different things, but we actually need to receive money independent of bonding. They're two very different things.
No, I mean, I understand that. I was just wondering, I know grading does use bonding. That's all. It's bonds. That's what
we do bonding.
Yeah,
we do bonding, but that's to cover the total value of the actual physical construction work, millions and millions of dollars. But we may actually take in payment of fees to the city, an amount of $500,000 or $800,000, some sizable amount. And that's where the wire transfer seems to be, very functional. But I would encourage that if we go to the citizen self-service, that we understand the ways in which we can accept payments and the amounts.
Understandable. And I'll get back. I'll give a number to Kurt later about that, of how much money can be taken in, let's say, one payment at a time, and how, what's the limit on that, and if there is a limit. So I will get that information back.
Okay.
I'm sorry, everybody. I was talking for the last 30 seconds. I was muted. We're on to this one right here. Verification of contractor's license and Ventura business license. That's handled with community development by a CSLB website and EnerGov DT. Mark, what say you?
Yes.
Great.
Same
VPN, and this will all be the same. Great. Sorry about that. I muted myself because I was typing like crazy. Permits are issued. Hand delivery. So community development did hand delivery upon first inspection. What are you doing?
For what? For hand delivery of community, what are we looking at?
This is for permits are issued, grad and NSER.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just didn't understand the function that we're looking at right now. It's at the issuance of the permit?
Yes, I'm sorry. 4D, permits are issued.
Yeah. So we have We have a function in place right now for small encroachment permits, the utilities, where we just send them a PDF, not a hand delivery. It's a send them a PDF. And I think right now the question is going to be how are we going to do that for the big civil drawings?
Oh, maybe Dropbox or something?
Well, the city FTP site clearly is what I prefer. I like the fact that we own our own Dropbox, so I don't see a need to create an account. I'm using the city FTP site to send large drawings. We just have yet to use that in this environment to send an actual issued set of plans, but we've done other sending of plans that way.
Okay, so I'm just going to add Dropbox in because the city needs to explore a common decision, but I understand your preference for FTP, right? Are you all right with me adding Dropbox in just for the sake of keeping it in the possibilities?
Well, yeah, I think everything's possible. I just think in this challenging environment to communicate, it's probably the last thing you want to use.
Got it. Okay. So, and then over here, it's the same way. Let me just capture this. We're almost there. I see it.
So I think we should avoid the hand delivery, and I think we could support that entirely through the delivery of a PDF in whatever fashion the city management decides.
And that's not going to change when we go to EnerGov Enterprise. It's still the same way, right? You can't, right, Jason? You can't just issue the permit through EnerGov, push a button, and the permit gets issued. Jason H, are you on mute? Can you hear me?
Oh, so repeat that question again? Sorry.
I'm just flying the sky question. With EnerGov Enterprise, is it possible to push a button and a permit is issued?
Yes.
Okay.
There is an option to do that.
Oh, really?
So you would have it's not a button, but it's a workflow action. So you'd get your workflow action, and once your permit gets issued, you can hit issue permit, and you can create a report or create the document of the issuance. And that can also be virtually sent to the client, so they can have the document sent to them and they can print it out at home.
Wow. How would that sound to you, Mark?
Well, I would just want to, it sounds absolutely fantastic, but I think what we'd want to make sure is that we have the adequate signatures on both the applicant and the city side. It essentially constitutes a contract or an agreement that needs to be legally executed by both parties. And so thinking that through is, I think, going to be really important, perhaps a little more than we have time for right now.
Got it. Thank you, Jason.
I took DocuSign though. DocuSign, I think, is fully set up to do something similar. It's just like a transaction for buying a home. You've got two parties that have to sign the deal.
Right. And that's where we are.
I don't know if EnerGov supports DocuSign or has their own system, but that probably needs to be explored, Kurt. We need to understand, I think, the legalities of the signature and whether or not EnerGov supports DocuSign or replaces DocuSign, or if they're two independent things.
That's a great question.
That might be it.
I know EnerGov has some digital signature. Jason, how does EnerGov's digital signature compare to DocuSign? I mean, are people getting away with everything that they need to do?
Well, it's on a state by municipality level of what your state can allow to be able to handle. So for like certain states like Florida, and I don't know about this moving forward with California, but they require signatures when just applying for things. So there's a way in the CSS portal that they sign, and you can write things in there's an area we can put in language in there for like an affidavit confirming that everything you're doing ahead is faithful, you're not trying to do anything malicious with any of the permitting or any licensing of any sort, any language that's needed in there. But for signatures, like let's say signing permits, as Mark was just saying, and stuff like that, that cannot be done, I don't believe, within the EnerGov. So DocuSign might be the way to go for for the city of Ventura. And And I've seen some of the documents for public works where people need to sign things as well as the applicant needs to sign as well. Am I
Thank
correct
you.
in that, Mark?
Yeah, you're correct, Jason. And that's why I think I wanted to talk about it a little bit, because we do have essentially a contract with the contractors when they go out in the field. We want to know it's been signed by the city and it's authentic. And we want to know it's been signed by the contractor in the field, that he's acknowledged and takes responsibility for everything that happens.
Understandable. And I know there was some sort of standpoint where I forget who wanted the idea of having ability just to add an e-signature, or not add an e-signature, just have a signature automatically populating certain permits. And I want to make sure that's what you guys wanted to do for the reports moving forward. I forget which report it was for. I might have to look through those, Kurt.
Okay. So for now,
ideally, Kurt, what we end up with is a document that is, 100% legally verifiable. When people die in the right of way and they blame the city, we want to be able to pull out a legally substantial document that's usable in a court of law.
Got it. Yes, that's. I think you just bottom lined it right there. But for now, let's leave in. So for the signature, VPN, eDoc. We need an eDoc. I don't even need to say the eDoc, and DocuSign. Are you doing that now? How are you getting? Are you able to get digital signatures now for public works?
So the way we do it now, and this is kind of the looseness of the language digital signature, we will actually print the permit, we will sign it, we will PDF it, scan it and send. They will print that, they will sign it, they will scan it, and they will send it back to us. And then we assemble the package and scan the entire package, and then send them the entire package and give a copy to the inspector. So it's electronic signature, but it's done traditionally by hand and scanned.
All right. I think who is doing the same thing? Wasn't yesterday somebody, or over the weekend somebody was doing the same thing? VPN plus eDoc plus DocuSign. So I think it's that same process. It's the same okay. It's the same thing. Yeah, I get it. I just have to get my words around it. Verification. So you don't need the whole VPN thing. It's basically it's the technology you need is email. That's basically it, huh? You're just emailing the darn thing back and forth.
Yeah, the immediate is just emailing it back and forth.
We need VPN, Kurt, to just get on EnerGov.
Oh, there you go. There you go. So here we go. So we're on the signature part. Here it is. EPN. So it's at this VPN and plus email and attachment. And you must be doing that now. Are you folks working from? Mark, are people in public works working from home and doing all of this now?
So people in public works are working from home, but we have Terry Quintel and Chandra who are actually in City Hall every day.
Doing this stuff. Got it.
So we still have a physical effort that's happening.
So I'm putting around. So I put in VPN, email plus attachment, but the tech need is the VPN piece to make that work from home. Right?
Yeah. So, if you really wanted to go and do this all from a remote location, I would hope that EnerGov has the ability to log in via internet, because when you actually are VPN and you hit print, it prints at work. It doesn't print at your remote location where you could then sign and send back. There's a little technology.
Jason, keep me honest, but we won't be able to do that because the enterprise server is inside our network, right, Jason?
Repeat. I got lost in there with everything going on.
Mark was hoping that the enterprise server will be accessible outside of our network, but that's not true. All right, it's only within our network.
Yes, currently enterprise is situated on premise, or it's on your server. So if you opened up made it not a VPN, then you could access it. But currently, since it's on your server, due to, I guess, reasons being of, security, I think that was chosen from the city that yes, you would have to get, to get into enterprise, you have to log in with the VPN. And so, and that's what I have to do currently as well.
And it's fine to log into VPN. It's just that when you go to hit print, it prints at work physically. So the way that you can get that to your remote location is you print as a PDF, and then you email it to your remote location. Then you print it at your remote location, you sign it, you scan it, you send it back as an email, and then you go back onto VPN. So you're working two different computers almost. And it's quite a laborious effort at this point if you were to try to do this process entirely remote.
Jason, can we in any way open EnerGov Enterprise to the outside world, or is that just opening us to risk?
No, you definitely can, and that's a lot of the other clients and other cities have used. What they use is they use Tyler servers, and so that's just if you have access to internet and you have the correct credentials, you can just log into that network, into your own enterprise.
It's in the cloud.
You can. I don't know if it's in the cloud.
It's in the Tyler cloud.
It's on our servers. So it would be, you would have the ability to just do everything from, without accessing a VPN. You wouldn't have to log into a VPN to access.
Got it. So Mark, I've noted this need. That's pretty far outside the scope of our current project, but it's something we might consider if the need is sufficient.
Jason Kim just made a comment about it.
Oh, what did he say? Let's see. It's hosted by Tyler, SaaS, yes. But that would make both Jason Kim and I kind of creak in our heels right now if we imagine moving everything up to the Tyler servers right now.
Yes.
But if the need is there, then we'll record it. Almost done. Communication. So this 27. So the approved plan returned to the applicant. I'm imagining that's just email and attachment, right, Mark?
Well, go back to the far right-hand side so I can see.
Oh, I'm sorry.
6, what is it, 6D? We're at 6D, right? Approved plans returned to applicant. Yeah, so that should be a PDF with the DocuSign of the permit and the plan.
Great. So you've got the email.
One thing I didn't include in here, Kurt, is we generally have a transition meeting and a pre-con meeting. But that does take place right after the permit issuance. The transition meeting doesn't.
Is that a meeting with the customer or just amongst yourself?
Well, the transition meeting is when we hand it over to the inspectors and go over everything that we've done for the last year or two. And then we do a pre-con, but that's post-issuance.
All right. Do I need to include either of those here?
You might want to.
Okay, where should I put it?
Let's go back over there to 7 so I can see it in context.
Sure.
So let's see, permit issuance. So we do permit issuance, and then we have a pre-con. So customer makes plans available for inspection. Maybe what we say is customer makes plans available for pre-con and for pre-construction meeting and subsequent inspections.
Construction meeting and it makes available for pre-construction and subsequent inspections. There we go. How's that?
Sorry. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. So what tech do we need for that?
I think it's email with the DocuSign documents, all of which have been legally executed.
All right. So, but right now you're using that same process of the email and attachments, right? Back and forth.
We are for the permit, but what we're doing right now for Mylars is still a physical process where we are, Brad and I are signing the city Mylars, and that we actually have a Mylar set of plans that will be being given back. We've got a couple to the applicant to physically produce. So there is still some, physical interaction.
Okay, I'm just catching up here.
Also, The bonding process, which I think we have in there, is we've traditionally received notarized bonds, and I don't know if we yet have a fully electronic and legally binding bonding process like a DocuSign notary. They're notarized usually, and so I understand other states have virtual notaries, but the state of California doesn't allow virtual notaries. And so I think that's still a little bit gray for me, Kurt, how we want to manage the legal execution.
Is this okay? It sounds like something we have to add here. But before we do that, let's complete this one for the display.
Okay.
Which is customer makes plans available for pre-construction meeting and subsequent inspections. The immediate tech is VPN plus EnerGov desktop plus email attachments. The need is VPN to do it from home. What about the long-term need for this?
Well, it's help me understand what you meant by display, Kurt, because I think what we're saying right there is customer makes them available. The expectation, I think, is that that's the since construction's a physical thing, I think that's the one time this electronic system becomes physical, is the customer hits print and submits a physical plans to everybody. And I don't know how, right now our inspectors are following social distancing with protective equipment. They have gloves and masks, and they're able to, you know, actually arrive on site and be closer and interactive safely.
So that's very similar to what community development is doing down here. Customer prints the plans, and you guys are actually out there looking at it, right?
Yeah, and I think when I heard Ann say that that's what community development's doing, it's certainly something we could support. It's not what's happening, right? What's happening right now is the customers, well, the customer's doing it, but it's by a physical pickup of our Mylar plans and making the reproduction. And we're not emailing that to them.
Okay.
Yet.
So then
we can.
All right.
So I think I like what you said, which is the customer will make available.
Okay, so right here it says customer prints plans, customer prints plans.
Yeah. The way that our inspectors are also supplementing that process and have been before COVID is they download the approved set of plans onto PlanGrid, and they use their iPad, they use their tablet or their iPad to actually pull up the plans in the field.
Okay.
And, that's their current tool that they use for land development and capital projects.
Okay. Oops, whoops, whoops. All right, so customer prints plans, very good. So hold on, the technology we need here, just a second. I kind of blew something here.
Did you not want to make reference to PlanGrid on that as our current function?
I'm happy to do that. Let me see, hold on, let me just catch up here.
Maybe it's an or, and maybe it's an and. The customer prints and electronic plans available on PlanGrid.
Okay. And this is something you're doing now, right? And
yeah, it's what we were doing before COVID, and I believe if you were to see our public works inspectors, they would say the same right now. They've got everything on PlanGrid.
PlanGrid. That's an application like that.
It's an application.
Okay.
It's a cloud-based application where all the plans are loaded, and they have immediate access to all of our construction plans on a tablet on an iPad.
All right. So, and how's that going to be done in EnerGov in the new world? Is it the same way? Because it's a display thing, right? It's a personal thing between one human being and another. So it's going to remain the same, right?
Well, that's a business practice that we brought up last week too, Kurt, which is I know there's this focus on PlanGrid, but ultimately, you know, we've got to have our inspectors document what we call dailies. That's a practice they have in capital. They do a daily report, and then there's a similar process for land development. It's not necessarily daily, but they use the same report to identify who's on site and who's doing what, and what the status of construction is.
All right. So what do I need to do? Have we got it?
So we're not clear yet on that business practice, how we're gonna facilitate that role. It's an important role. It's a vital role, actually, and it's not clear yet how Intergov is gonna support that, or replace that, or integrate that, or just be separate and parallel. It's not clear.
Is this something that needs to be called out in this document?
I think so, because my 2-page write-up included the completion of the project, because we ultimately have to close out a permit, and how we get there, I think it's important to spell that out. It's not just the issuance of a permit. We've got to get into construction, finish the project, and take it to archive.
So I have to add a step 6. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Step 6. And what do you want to call this step 6?
Step 6 is it's the inspections. Inspections are an important part of the permit. The permit's the beginning of the inspections, and I think we've got to document that along the way. Building and safety has a little bit different protocol.
All right. And
I think the inspection right now, I think building and safety is using Intergov to note, pass or fail with some comments. Our inspectors are generally taking photographs and making notes because of the city ownership of that capital, of that portion of the construction is city owned.
All right.
For that reason, they have documents to support it. And so we generally we're keeping that in PlanGrid, and it's a weekly download to Windows Explorer.
All right. What are the sub-steps under inspections, under step 6?
For public works inspectors, so I use the word dailies. It's a nice term. It's our daily inspection record. It's a writable PDF. Daily inspection form.
Inspections plural or inspection singular?
Inspection forms, so plural on the forms.
Got it. There you go.
Yeah.
Is there
And you might say maybe including photographs.
Okay, in parentheses, maybe including photographs.
Yeah, and then we also get RFIs, the PDFs. The requests for informations I'll come in and get answered. So we have a little more documentation that we like to receive and record. And that information is generally taken in through the PlanGov, the PlanGrid server, the service, the cloud, and then downloaded weekly to the project file.
Do I need to change that language anymore?
I think A is good. B would probably be response to RFIs.
Response to RFIs.
And field submittal approvals.
How's that?
Yeah, that's good.
Is there a C?
On the inspection side, yes, we receive as-built drawings. On a C. C would be the receipt of as-built drawings.
I just have to move this back up there. Is there going to be a D so I can avoid having to cut and paste again? How many steps are there?
Well, I didn't pull up my little document that I made the other day, so I'm going off the top of my head, but I think that would, the inspections, once we got the as-built, the last role would be to close out the permit.
Okay.
And that might be a step 7, because we generally hand it back to the office once we get the as-built. We do 7, which is to close out the project. And it's a term we've been using for a long time, close out project. Yeah. And I could probably spare you the steps on that.
All right. What is 6C called?
Receive as-built drawings.
as built. Okay. All right. Now let's lay out the tech. What is the tech are you using for 6A? Daily inspection forms.
PlanGrid. We're using PlanGrid to do the data. It's a form on the tablet through a company called PlanGrid that we use. That's custom made.
Great, and no need because you've got that. That's working for you now.
It's working, but I don't know how it interacts with EnerGov, and I think that was a question we had last week about business practices, whether we want to continue to use PlanGrid like we are for capital for land development projects, or whether it relates to EnerGov or we use something else.
So that one I'm going to lay out because we don't know the answer. I'm going to PlanGrid or EnerGov Enterprise, depending on how that discovery goes.
Yeah. If I would say parenthetically, if available.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
If available.
Right.
Good. How about B, response to RFIs and field submittal?
Field submittal. Yeah, that's PlanGrid.
Great.
That's PlanGrid. Same. I would say same comment all the way across the board.
Okay.
Except for the receiving of as-builts, because I think we're altering that just a little bit now. Instead of taking physical Mylars, and I think that's where I'm still a little bit gray, is how we're going to receive as-builts for review. I think we'll have to receive, if we're going to go all electronic, we're going to have to receive a new PDF submittal.
So what are you doing now?
Well, we're 2 weeks into COVID,
right,
and we have yet to receive an as-built drawing in this environment. We now receive them as physical Mylars.
Is it something that does it exist as a PDF?
Yeah. So the civil engineer could take all the changes, the A and B. Ultimately, we end up with a revised set of plans at the end of the job that we need to have a copy of so that we can upload.
So how does this work? I'll say email an attachment at the minimum, maybe FTP or a Dropbox.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every time I see Dropbox on there, I get a little tense.
I know. Just head in there. Ultimately, it's your. Just because it's an option.
I don't know how Dropbox became so popular on our little site here, but
yes, I know. And that could be handled with EnerGov CSS as well, perhaps, maybe. EnerGov phase 1. And then how about for closing out the project? Is that just an email you send to somebody?
No, I don't know if I'm prepared, and I don't know if we are. We need a break and maybe revisit the closeout. The closeout process is one where we take it to council to start the MAD, and we release bonds, and there's a nice little system in place that's a little bit more elaborate.
Wow, sounds like a sub process all of its own.
It really is. It's a challenge on every project, but it's what we do. We start the maintenance assessment district at council. We confirm the final map is recorded. We get O&Ms, covenants recorded. There's final payment of development impact fees that have been deferred. There's quite a little effort to go through the conditions and the financials and to make sure all the legals are done.
So I'm just being simplistic because I need to identify the technology. Could I say email and attachments plus wire transfer? I'm just trying to identify all the tech that you could possibly use to do all of this.
Yeah. In terms of technology, I think the electronic technologies that got us here can get us to finish it.
Okay. So good. So I'm going to say for immediate, you've got these tools at your disposal that come heck or high water, you could use them to get you there.
Yeah.
Email, and this should be so good. That's amazing.
Yeah. So part of that is we rely on the county of Ventura right now for final maps. The subdivision maps, go through the county in 2 different capacities, and it's an important part of these large developments, and it includes the initiation and the closeout. So I didn't want to complicate it with that case, but we are somewhat dependent on their methods.
Got it. All right. So is it honest? Am I correct then in saying that for the immediate term, email and attachments plus wire transfer should get you by? No immediate technology needs. You may need to do the same in the new world we're going to as well. I don't know unless EnerGov can. It sounds like it's kind of beyond the scope of EnerGov.
Well, it's not. It is and it isn't. It depends on a business practice of the city saying, what do we need? And if EnerGov is our effort to capture womb to tomb, all what I call the 3 trimesters of development, then it's vital that we finish what we started, and the closeout process is a part of it, a crucial part of it.
I'm going to add then. I'm going to add that to identify that we could use what we're doing, or maybe find a way to make EnerGov help us with this. Great. EnerGov phase 1. Mark, we have reached the bottom there. Have we missed anything in the process?
It's looking pretty deep. It's in the ballpark. Right?
Great. Well, what I'm going to do then, it's 12:46. I want to ask you to maybe let's take lunch, and maybe if you have moments to come back and look at this. Now you understand how this all works, and particularly the steps here. If you see anything that's missing, this is your tab on the document. You can update this as you see fit. What we need to do next is we need to plug in some totals here, like maybe are you willing to take a stab? Like how many VPNs do you think you would need for Public Works to do all of this, to bring the whole team to be able to do this?
So Brad sent out an email, and I think he sent it to you, and he sent it to Carrie. And his number for Bluebeam was 42. And I would venture to say that there's a similar number, across the board. In other words, the Adobe, the monitors, the Dropbox, the VPN, the GPU.
Yeah.
I suspect it's our total. That number is a little on the strong side, because my observation on that list of 42 is it had about 8 or so capital people. But sometimes, we often integrate our capital work with our land development work. That's a crucial thing that we do.
All right.
But we might want to revisit that number.
What I'm probably going to do, Mark.
It's certainly not going to. I wouldn't expect it to go up.
Right. Mark, what I'm probably going to do, and Merritt and Heidi are both here as well. I'm probably going to outsource the filling out of these fields right here to each department's leads, rather than have them try to distill it out and communicate it to me. Because everybody has access to this. So I plugged in what I just heard from you, but I'm going to ask the departments to actually come in and fill this information out themselves. Because what that does then is it goes over here to the IT needs sheet, and you can see now that for Public Works, we have the numbers are starting to populate here and here. So that's probably going to appear as an action item for each of the. It won't be for you. It'll be for the leads. I'm going to send this out to the steering committee and say, hey, I need someone to identify what your needs are in terms of numbers. Does that sound fair?
It does. I think it's important that you probably keep a close eye on it, because one department may think one thing and another department thinks another. It's important that we think the same.
Yes, and of course the scope of that requirement is for their department. So for Phil, I'm going to ask Phil for Public Works. Please tell us the numbers of monitors that you need and how many VPN connections you need. Because I'm understanding now, based on the comments at the start of the meeting, that the various departments are not completely represented, right? So that's going to be complex. But if I put it at the top, then it'll filter down. All right. Hey, is there anything else? I think we've covered a lot here.
We have. It's great. Thanks for all that work, Kurt. I didn't realize. I feel like the whole morning was about me.
It was. It was about
Yes,
Public Works, and you were you were an ample and very good
Yeah.
representative for Public Works. You're the last man standing, I think, for Public Works in the room. I think, right?
Well, I'm glad I was here.
And Merritt and Heidi, isn't this interesting? This is almost 3 hours. There's nobody from community development. On Friday, it took us 3 hours to do the same thing for community development. I think we've discovered that to do this takes about 3 hours per department, at least to get a first draft. So note to self. Well, great. Well, everybody, I'm going to let you all go for lunch. We will, there'll be another meeting like this on Thursday, but I'm going to reach out to Water this afternoon, and hopefully we'll continue doing this.
And I just wanted to leave you with one thought, and we'll split. But we haven't really spoken to the final map process that is, crucial to large developments. And that's a separate case type called a FINA.
All right.
And there's a handful of other ones, but they're very much interrelated to what we do with our GRIM case.
So what I'm looking for, what I'm keenly interested in, is any steps that require more technology. Are there steps there that might require more and different technology?
No, I think the same technology is there. The PDFs, the DocuSigns, and the transfer among a variety of people to get their approval is I think a common theme.
Then that will cover the need of this particular document. Now, for your department, of course, that's what you've just brought up is a whole other issue, right? So that's very important.
Yeah.
But as long as I've got the technology part, that's my mandate right now.
I think we got technology pretty good.
Great, thank you. Because just to let you know, it's a small group here. Really, what I'm after is I need to come up with a shopping list for IT, right? And that's what you're giving me.
Yep. Yeah, I think you put the CPU in there, didn't you? The capable graphics. There you go.
Capable graphics, right? Yep. Okay. I'm going to add that. I'm going to add that over here to the IT needs tab as well.
Great.
Great. All right.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, everybody, and have a great lunch, and we'll talk to you all later.
Oh, hey, are we coming back after lunch? Was that the plan?
No, we're done. I'm going to meet with.
Okay,
I'm going to try to get together with Water after lunch.
Yeah. Oh, so on the water issue, we traditionally, Ventura Water used to be part of Public Works up until 8 years ago, and up until just 6 months ago, they ran everything through Public Works. And we're, of course, ready for change and adjustment, but we just want to be on the same page.
All right. So,
and Adam and I know for sure are on the same page. I just want to make sure I'm hearing what he's saying and we're able to support him 100%.
All right. Very good. And let's see. Who is Adam Blukonsky? Is he from?
Adam Bogilski?
Yeah.
Adam Bogilski?
Water. He's the one that wants me to give him a call after lunch for about water, so I will do that. Thank you.
Yeah, and he's usually, most of their work a lot of it is through Public Works. And so just clarifying how that's going to work would be great.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Have a great afternoon.
You too.
All right, thank you, Kurt.